Well, the Ravens lose to the Steelers 18-16 in what turned out to be a classic AFC North battle. Bunch of turnovers, penalties, missed field goals. We're diving into all the details in this episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? If you're watching, I'm sure a lot of Steelers fans are going to be watching this, but tough game, man. Tough game. Shout out to the Steelers. Credit to their defense. They definitely stepped up and stopped one of the best offenses we've ever had, and we'll see them again, but this was not a good game. Ravens lose 18-16. Steelers don't even score a touchdown, and we just can't get it done. We'll start with what I thought had the most impact on this game at the end of the day, and that's Tucker's 2 missed field goals in the first half. If he would have just hit one of those, we're leading in this game. It doesn't necessarily mean that we would have won, but we would have been leading at the end of the game. You know, the Steelers would have had to drive down and kick a game winner or score a game-winning touchdown if Tucker would have made both. So those 2 field goals by Tucker proved to be massive. He did rebound with a 54-yarder in the second half, but Tucker's off this year, man. There ain't no other way to put it. And it is not a good feeling as a Ravens fan when we line up for kicks now. We just don't have confidence that Tucker's going to make it anymore. I'm hoping he gets out of this slump, but it's kind of been this way all year. He's been very inconsistent. This game proved to be no different. Boswell on the other side's banging 57-yarders with no problem, and Tucker misses 2 field goals, which, like I said, turned out to be the point differential in this game. But I think what most surprises me in this game is just that the Ravens offense, once again, is stalled by Pittsburgh's defense. Pittsburgh has the Ravens number. There's no doubt about it. I thought the Ravens this year were presenting a different challenge with Derrick Henry, the way Lamar Jackson's playing. That Lamar Jackson in the first half was off, man. He was not the MVP Lamar that we're used to seeing, and it wasn't necessarily pressure like I thought it might be. You know, I was like, all right, if Pittsburgh is blowing up our offensive line and getting to Lamar really quick, it wasn't really that, man. People just weren't open downfield. Lamar is holding the ball for too long. Lamar's sailing some balls in the first half. You know, he definitely put together some nice drives in the second half, but this was Lamar's worst game of the season. I think it's pretty fair to say. And Pittsburgh's defense forced 3 turnovers in this game, which were huge too. First drive of the game, I think second carry, Derrick Henry fumbles, and then Patrick Queen strips Likely, and then 41 rips the ball out of Justice Hill's hand for an interception. That definitely wasn't Lamar's fault, but the only interception he threw today was ripped out of Justice Hill's hand. So Steelers are going and taking away the ball, you know, literally making plays to take the ball away, and causing 3 turnovers in this game was the difference. The missed field goals, the turnovers, the penalties. You know, we had 12 penalties for 80 yards. It's just undisciplined ball, and this is nothing new for the Ravens this year. We've been very inconsistent with penalties. We've had way too many holding calls and illegal man downfield calls and just crazy stuff, man. Self-inflicted wounds. Make field goals, don't have as many penalties. This game definitely goes the Ravens' way. You know, the defense showed up today, which is another surprise. You know, shout out to the Ravens' defense. The Ravens' defense did their job. Forced 6 field goals, no touchdowns. Marlon Humphrey had an interception. Adafe Owe had 3 sacks. The Ravens' defense did their job today. Outside of the Bills game, and it rivals it, but I think this is the Ravens' defense's best performance today. But not playing complimentary ball because the offense doesn't show up and get points on their end. So our defense having their best day didn't really matter. But holding a team to 18 points and no touchdowns is a job well done, and I will take that every single week, especially with the offense that we have. The story of this game is that Pittsburgh's defense has the Ravens' offense's number. I mean, there's just no other way to spin it. It is what it is. I don't think that Monken called a great game today. I don't think Lamar played a great game today. Derrick Henry's fumble, Isaiah Likely's fumble. I mean, these are just massive, massive game-changing things that cannot happen. So all credit to Pittsburgh's defense in this game. They won the game for sure. But the Ravens got to stop with these self-inflicted wounds. The penalties is something that I want to get back to because we were in so many second and third and longs because of a holding call or a false start or an illegal man downfield. I mean, these are self-inflicted wounds. These are things that you do against any team, you're going to have trouble, man. You can't, especially a talented defense like this. Another thing that drove me nuts was the 2-point conversion call. I didn't think Monken was that creative today overall. Definitely not his best called game, but we had a moment at the end there to tie this game up, and it was one of the worst 2-point conversion calls we've had. Lamar just rolls out. He doesn't even really have an option to throw. Pittsburgh brings the pressure. Lamar can't run it in, and there's also no outlet for anyone to throw to, and we're rolling out to one side, so you just limit to half the field. It just doesn't make sense, and Derrick Henry's not in the game. So, it's not that hard to stop things like that when you don't have a lot of options to throw it to, and Derrick Henry's not in the game, so there's not much of a threat of running. And Lamar rolls out immediately to one side, so the Steelers know exactly what side of the field that the ball's going to. It's just elementary football, man. It's just not smart at all. Spread them out, bring Henry in the game, Lamar stay in the pocket for a second, make a read. I just don't understand why you would make that play call, but it is what it is. Obviously, they did, and we didn't get the 2-point conversion after a clutch drive for sure. Not a great day from the offense, but they clutched up when they needed to at the end of the game to potentially tie it and make it 18-18 and hopefully send it to overtime if the defense got a stop. But now the Ravens are 2 games back in the AFC North. Steelers got a nice lead. We do play each other again, so it's not like this determines the outcome of the season, but hell of a lead for Pittsburgh right now. The Ravens got some tough games coming up too. Pittsburgh also has a tough schedule remaining, so I think this will still be competitive down the stretch, but definitely a big win for Pittsburgh. This loss did not help. I don't think we're going to see many defenses like Pittsburgh. I know the Chargers have a really good defense as well, but I would say with the Steelers' history of playing the Ravens and how talented this Steelers defense is, this is the best defense that we're going to play all year. So it's not like the world's burning. This Ravens offense is still an elite offense. We're dominating most teams, but not Pittsburgh, man. They got our number, and I'll admit it. I admit it when I'm wrong. I thought the Ravens offense would show up today. They did not. Let's talk about a few bright spots in this game, though, for the Ravens, and that was mainly on their defense and mainly in their secondary. So we know Eddie Jackson didn't travel with the team. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. Nothing good. He's probably not going to play anymore, I would imagine, but they benched him, and he didn't even travel with the team, so not a good situation there. And then Marcus Williams was benched again, and we ran Kyle Hamilton and our Darius Washington back there, which is a combo that we really haven't went with that much. And I thought our Darius Washington had a hell of a game and earn this role moving forward for the rest of the season. And I don't think we're going to see much of Eddie Jackson at all. And I don't think we're going to see Marcus Williams consistently either. So this might be our new safety duo, and I'm fine with it. I thought the Ravens defense had one of their best games of the season. Shout out to Marlon Humphrey on another interception. I know it was a terrible decision by Russell Wilson, but we've dropped a lot of those this year too, so I'm happy that Marlon came down with that, got his feet down. Shout out to Tre'Davious White, who we just traded for. He had 2 huge pass breakups on jump balls to Pickens in the end zone. Pickens comes down with those a lot, man, and we just go trade for a struggling corner in Tre'Davious White. He's matched up one-on-one with George Pickens in man coverage and 2 pass breakups. So I thought that was about as good of a showing from Tre'Davious White as we could have seen, and I would not be surprised if he has a bit of a role on this team moving forward. He just gained a lot of trust with the coaches and probably just gave himself a lot of confidence. He's been struggling on a couple different teams. The Bills cut him. He goes to the Rams. They bench him because of performance. He gets traded for essentially nothing, a 7th-round pick swap. And the Ravens put him in, and he looked pretty good. So hopefully we can get something out of Tre'Davious White, but definitely a bright spot today. And then Odafe Oweh with 3 sacks. Shout out to Odafe Oweh. We've been hard on him for not getting home, but he definitely had a breakout game in this game and was definitely one of the brighter spots for this Ravens team. But let's dive into these stats for this game. It's not pretty for Baltimore, man. Lamar Jackson, 16 of 33. 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. This is his worst performance of the season by far. Derrick Henry, 13 carries for 65 yards and a touchdown. I think 13 is always too low for Derrick Henry, but I think the Ravens were shooting themselves in the foot quite a bit to not be able to just ground and pound this game. Then Lamar Jackson added 4 for 46, pretty normal for him on the ground. Isaiah Likely led the way from receiving, 4 for 75 yards. Zay Flowers, 2 for 39 in that late touchdown. Rashad Bateman, 2 for 30. Justice Hill, 4 for 28. Mark Andrews, 2 for 22. Just not much in the passing game at all. Ravens defense, Roquan Smith led the way with 13 tackles. He would have had way more than that, but he didn't play the fourth. Darius Washington, man, coming out party. 11 tackles, and I think earned the starting safety spot for the Ravens. Kyle Hamilton with another great game, 10 tackles. He was blowing a lot of plays up. Odafe Owe, I guess they're giving him 2.5 sacks on here. I don't know. 2 or 3 sacks he had today. I thought he had 3, but gave a half sack to Brandon Stevens, it looks like, on this stat sheet. But either way, great game from Odafe Owe. Broderick Washington had another sack. Marlon Humphrey with the interception. Moving over to Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson, 23 of 36, 205 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. Pretty pedestrian game from him as well, but got it done. Najee Harris, 18 carries, 63 yards. Jaylen Warren, 9 for 41. Justin Fields added 2 for 17. They went for 122 on the ground, which is pretty successful, man. We usually don't let up over 100 yards rushing, but they were able to get the ground game going a little bit. They also committed to it. George Pickens led the way in the pass game, 8 catches for 89 yards, and then not much else. Darnell Washington, 2 for 42. The running backs both had 4 catches each. And then the Steelers defense, Patrick Queen led the way. He had a great game with a strip sack and 10 total tackles. Minkah Fitzpatrick with 7 tackles. And then they only had 2 sacks. TJ Watt got a sack. Lowry got a sack. And then Peyton Wilson with that great pick when he ripped it out of Justice Hill's hands. And Nick Herbig forcing that fumble on Derrick Henry early in the game. But that's it for today. I don't have much else to say. I'm not feeling great after that. It's hard to make these videos when we lose, but got to be honest, got to call out the Ravens' flaws, got to give credit to Pittsburgh's defense when they deserve it. So Steelers won this game fair and square, but the Ravens got to stop beating themselves. Tucker's got to start making some field goals. I am happy with how the Ravens' defense played today. I think they may have gotten their safety situation figured out, so that gives me some confidence moving forward. This was the best safety play that we've had all season long, and I would hope that this secondary continues on this trajectory. Let me know what I missed, what I didn't talk about. I'm sure there's a million different things that I didn't highlight. I just hop on here right after the game, give my raw post-game thoughts. I haven't even watched the press conference or anything. I probably won't watch anything tonight. I'm definitely just going to try and enjoy the night and forget about this game right now. But wanted to make this video for whoever wants to watch it. And as always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Enjoy the rest of your night. And I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.